Alright, so welcome back to Wingspan, the European expansion Bird Powers. So for this video, we're going to go over the cards that activate when you play them. We already did the round end abilities, so now we're going to do the when played, and hopefully, if we have enough time, we will squeeze in these 5 once between turns cards, because there is quite a bit of these here for the when activated abilities, or should I say the brown ones. So let's get started. So here we have the common black bird. When played, play this bird sideways, so that way it covers 2 forest spaces. Pay the lower egg cost. So, for instance, let's just do a, for example, let's get that out of the way and bring this over here so you guys can see the forest better. Let's say, for instance, you play this card here. You're actually going to play it like this. It's going to cover up both of these spaces, which is a new concept to Wingspan, of course, because after all, they've always been put like this, and obviously over here, left to right. So this is a new concept. Putting them here gives you access to the 2 dice, for instance, much faster than normal. That's pretty interesting. Of course, it does limit the amount of birds you'll be able to put in the forest, but you usually don't always fill every single row anyways. But with these, if you get a lot of these, you could possibly fill all of the rows. So that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool ability. But you'll still pay the lower egg cost. So, obviously the first one doesn't have egg in the cost, but, for instance, let's see if I can get the camera. There we go. So here's the lower egg cost. This is still considered the lower egg cost. This is no cost of egg. So this is the lower egg cost. So if you placed it like that, you'd still have to pay the egg if you played the bird there, for instance. So if you had no eggs and this was the first bird you wanted to play, you would not be able to play this bird because you have no eggs to start with anyways. But here's an interesting way of doing it. This would be more useful, if you ask me, if you already had a bird here. So, like, for instance, this one here, if that was already here, it's in the forest. Yeah, don't look at the ability. But, yeah, if it was already here, for instance, and you played it here, you could still pay the lower egg cost, which would still be 1 egg. And if you had another bird here, well, you wouldn't have to pay 2. You'd only have to pay 1. So the best place to put this is actually right in the middle, because it saves you an egg every time, as long as it's played in these 2 columns here only. And there's lots of abilities. There's lots of birds with this ability. So, for instance, the common blackbird has that ability, the sideways ability. This long-tailed tit also has the same ability as the common blackbird. So that's something to note. And then there's other birds with similar abilities, but the European roller, for instance, it works with the savanna only. These 2 work with the forest. This one is going to go sideways in your savanna, but has the same ability. The gray heron here has the same ability, but it's going to go sideways in the wetlands. So that's pretty cool. And those are all the birds that have that ability. So there's only 4 birds in total that have that ability. Once again, it may or may not see a bird with that ability. But if you do, that would be pretty cool. Especially if you're able to get more than 1. That would be pretty awesome, to say the least. Alright, so here we have the snowy owl. One of my favorite birds. Definitely my favorite species of owl. And because I like the cold weather, with the exception of freezing winds blowing in my teeth. But I really like the cold weather, and obviously snowy owls also really love the cold weather, and I just happen to love owls a lot. So this is my favorite bird, but it has an interesting ability too. So, and it's not the only one with these kinds of abilities either. So when played, you'll draw 1 new bonus card. So from the core game, abilities that were similar to this would allow you to draw 2 bonus cards, and then you'd get to look at them and keep one and discard the other. In this expansion, however, you're not going to be getting 2 bonus cards, you're just getting 1. So whatever you draw is what you get. Even if it doesn't help you, that's what you get. But then you'll also gain 1 bird card, or you can lay 1 egg on any bird. So this is pretty cool. It gives you an option of drawing another bird card. Maybe you're low on birds, so that could be useful. Or maybe you're low on eggs, and this gives you the option to instead, obviously, lay 1 egg on any other bird, or this bird for that matter. So that's pretty cool. I like that. You get a choice with that. That's pretty cool. And you get a bonus card. Even if it's not really the best bonus card in the world, you still get another bonus card for sure. So then this bird has the exact same ability as the snowy owl, for instance. This one here, you're going to draw 1 new bonus card. So with the Godwit's bird, the black-tailed Godwit's bird, you're going to draw 1 new bonus card, but then you're going to draw 3 bird cards, and you're going to get to keep one of them. So you still get 1 new bonus card, but like with these, but the difference is you're drawing 3 bird cards. You get to look at them and decide which one you're going to keep, and the other 2 are going to get discarded. So that's pretty cool. That's a nice one. This one is the exact same ability as the Godwit's, so the red knot has the same ability. This one here, you're going to draw 1 new bonus card with the European turtle dove. Finally, we actually get a European. I sometimes say Eurasian when I see European, and sometimes I say European when I see Eurasian. But regardless, this one's European. So with the European turtle dove, you'll draw 1 new bonus card, then gain 1 food dice from the bird feeder, and then you can either gain 1 food dice from the bird feeder, you can lay 1 egg on any bird, or you can draw 1 bird card. So this one gives you 3 options. After you get your bonus card, you get 3 options. You can get a food, basically, from the bird feeder, which may or may not always be useful. You can lay an egg, or you can draw 1 card. It's your choice. That's pretty cool. It's a one-time ability because it's only when it's played, but it's still could be pretty useful, for sure. Okay, and then this one is draw 1 new bonus card, but then you'll gain 1 food die from the bird feeder. So that's how this one works. So it doesn't give you a choice. You just get that. All right, and that's almost all of them for the white ones. We're not quite done, but we're getting there. So here we have the Eastern Imperial Eagle. And if you ask me, this is another one of the coolest abilities I've seen in this game. And this isn't the only bird that has this ability. So let's get a closer look at this bird. Okay. All right. When played, and this is a predator ability, when played, for each rodent in this bird's cost, you may pay 1 card from your hand instead. And then if you do, tuck the paid bird card behind this card. Okay, so some people think, when I first saw this, I was like, how do you get to do that? But then it was like, oh, that's because that's how you're supposed to do it. So normally what you're supposed to do when you're going to play a bird card, so let's say I played, this is what you're supposed to do. You're first supposed to play the bird card in the spot where you're supposed to play it. So the Eastern European Eagle is going to go here, and let's just say these 2 slots are already taken by other birds. After you play it, then you pay the food cost and the egg cost. You don't pay the egg cost and the food cost until after you put the bird down into your aviary, which is why this is interesting, because instead of paying the food cost or all of the food cost, you can instead pay cards from your hand here instead, and then you get to tuck the cards paid behind this card. So let's just say I had 3 bird cards. I didn't mind paying instead of 3 rodents. I could instead pay these from my hand, and I'd get to tuck them under the Eastern Imperial Eagle. So that's pretty cool. But it doesn't have to be 3 cards. If you had a couple of rodents, and you didn't have 3 rodents, but you wanted to play this card, you could pay the 2 rodents, food cost, and then pay a card, and then tuck that bird card underneath the Eastern Imperial Eagle. So that's a really cool ability, and it's not the only bird that has that power. So this bird has it. So does this particular species of eagle. The Bonelli's eagle has the same ability as that one. And so does the northern goshawk. It has the same ability. And so does the Eurasian sparrowhawk. They all have the same ability. So that's a pretty interesting ability. I think I like that one a lot. It is definitely one of my favorite new abilities that I really like. That's really cool. It makes it easier to pay these powerful birds, which have a huge wingspan amount of points, but it's a lot easier to pay with bird cards, especially if you have a lot of extra bird cards that you're not going to use. That could be very useful, especially towards the end of the game when you're running out of food. That could be quite powerful to have, for sure. And we still have a few more in this when played. So this one is another interesting one, the red kite. Instead of paying any costs when you play this, you may play this bird on top of another bird on your player mat, and then discard any eggs and food from that bird. It becomes a tucked card. So let's use another bird as an illustration. Let's say this was the bird that was on here. Let's say you didn't have the food or didn't want to pay the food to pay the cost of this red kite, for instance. You could instead put the bird on top of this bird here, just like that. You would lose the points, meaning you wouldn't get the 3 points with this bird, and if it had an ability, you won't have the ability anymore, because it would become a tucked card that will just get tucked underneath the red kite. But doing that allows you to play this bird almost completely for free, with the exception of the obvious egg cost, unless it was in the first column. So that's a pretty powerful ability, and if it's a low-costing bird, like the wingspan points is like 0 or something like that, or maybe it had one of those white abilities and you already used the ability for that reasoning, you could save a space and play this bird almost for free. That is really cool. And it's not the only bird with this ability. The other birds, there's a lot of other birds that have this ability too. This harrier has the same ability as the red kite. So does the common buzzard. And so does the Eurasian hobby. So those 4 birds have the same ability. So that's pretty cool. Another weird, interesting new ability that you could never ever do in the core game. Okay, so that's all of the white cards in when played cards in this expansion. So let's now go ahead and do these, the once between turns cards. All right. Okay. So here we have, oh, and make sure I got these in order. I might have messed them up. One another. Okay, yeah, I got them in the right order, I think. Well, no, I didn't. I think this one was on top. Yeah. Okay. So here we have the Eurasian tree sparrow. Once between turns, when another player takes the gain food action, gain 1 seed from the bird feeder at the end of turn. So if you're playing with multiple players, there's a good chance that somebody is going to take the gain food action, and then if they do, you get to take 1 seed from the bird feeder at the end of their turn, if there is one. If there isn't, obviously you get nothing. But if there is, you'll get to do this ability. And if they gain food, you'll get to do this ability. But if, for instance, you're only playing a 2-player game, pink abilities are usually a lot harder to pull off, and so that might not happen as often as you'd like. Alright, so then we have the Eurasian golden and I have a hard time pronouncing that. I know there's a baseball team, I think, with that bird name. I've never been able to pronounce it, though. So, with this one, when another player takes the gain food action, you'll gain one invertebrate or one fruit from the bird feeder at the end of the turn. So this increases the possibility of you being able to do this more than the other one because you have two choices instead of one, and the invertebrate is pretty common. The fruit, not so much, but if there is a fruit, that all the more better for you if you need fruit, especially. Then we have the common cuckoo. And the one thing you'll notice right off the bat with this bird is it has no egg limit, meaning you can never lay eggs on this bird, period, ever, because zero zilch, never, never ever. But once between turns, when another player takes the lay eggs action, this bird lays one egg on another bird with either a bowl nest or a ground nest. So that's pretty interesting. It can't lay eggs on itself, or should I say, you can't lay eggs on this bird, but you can use its ability to lay eggs in somebody else's nest. Kind of plucky, for sure. Okay, so then we have the European goldfinch. When another player tucks a card for any reason, so if it's a hunting reason, if it's a fishing reason, if it's a flocking reason, if any reason at all, when another player tucks a card for any reason, you'll tuck one bird card from the deck behind this bird. So that's pretty cool. You don't have to waste one of your cards to do this ability. You just do one from the deck, which is pretty cool, of course. So that's pretty interesting. And that could be quite useful for some extra points. And then this one has the exact same, well, actually, no, it doesn't have the exact same ability. So when another player tucks a card for any reason, you'll tuck one card from your hand behind this bird, and then you'll draw one card at the end of your turn. So, yeah, you're going to have to use one of your cards to do this ability if they, have the same trigger, obviously. And then you'll still at least get to draw one card at the end of their turn. So that's pretty cool, the snow bunting. And that's it for this video. So the only thing left we have are those brown cards when activated abilities. So I'll see you guys in the next video.